Welcome to the Awakening podcast, where we're fighting corruption with solutions. And we don't have whistleblowers, we have truth tellers, and we don't have conspiracy theorists, we have facts. Today, my guest is Niraj Naik. He's ex-pharmacist, holistic health expert, founder of International School of Breathwork, Soma Breath. You're known as the Renegade Pharmacist. Please welcome to the show.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
And what I'm not sure if you remember, I think it was maybe 3-4 years ago, I was speaking with Vishen Lakiani at one BFS, and he told me I needed to talk to somebody, and it was the Renegade Pharmacist. And it was close to the end of the event, and we were just on a buggy going from one part of the event to the other, and I ended up sitting next to you. And that's how...
That's correct.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course. That was a good time. Jamaica, right?
Jamaica, exactly.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. So
we'll start off with your pharmacist. You might tell us that journey, how you got into that, and how you became the Renegade Pharmacist.
Okay, great. So actually, I was actually a community pharmacist years ago. Basically, I was working in various pharmacies in the UK, and I actually got very disillusioned with that profession because I went into it thinking that you're really going to help people, and I found out it was a very different situation. Like we were, I would say, keeping people sicker for longer. It's more of a disease management industry than a health giving industry. So I just saw it for what it is, which is it's a business. And it made me very kind of angry, actually, a bit frustrated. And in the end, I just got more and more depressed, had a bit of a breakdown. And then I got actually taken kicking and screaming by a friend to a Tony Robbins event that was happening. I had no idea who he was. I just saw the brochure and I was like, this is some guru nonsense. I don't want to get involved with this. But he just forced me to go. He bought me a ticket. I had no choice. So I went. And it actually turned out to be the best thing that ever happened, because it's the first time I heard anyone talk about the impact of diet, nutrition, breathing, meditation, water, and on your health and how you can actually reverse disease with the right lifestyle. And this is not stuff that we're taught at university at all. In fact, we're kind of educated out of that. We're kind of told that we don't have any power ourselves, or we must rely on these pills and surgery and treatments, expensive treatments to get healthy. So I was really impressed with what the evidence they showed and all this. But I was like, well, I'm very skeptical. I'm a left brain guy, and I'm going to put Tony Robbins to test. I have in my pharmacy every day, lots of people coming in sick, taking medications for all kinds of stuff. Like, I'm going to put him to the test. And I came up with a system to write healthy shopping lists based on people's conditions. So to change their diet, basically. And literally those who followed my advice had dramatic changes and improvements in their health. Dramatic, right? I was really blown away about how quickly you could reverse type 2 diabetes just by changing someone's diet. So long story short, my first job, they didn't like me at all. They kind of booted me out of it. And in the end, actually, I ended up writing a CV on monster.com with all the reasons why I'll never be a pharmacist again, how much I hate the profession, how it's a terrible system. It kind of everything that I felt was corrupt about the system. Never expected anyone to ever contact me ever again. I didn't think I'd ever work again as a pharmacist. But then I actually got headhunted by one of the biggest corporations in the UK, who said that we want renegade pharmacists like you who think outside of the box. That's the kind of company that we are. And they basically offered me a deal I couldn't refuse. And they also said that they had this in-house competition where they encouraged new ideas, entrepreneurial ideas. And I ended up winning this competition and got promoted to the head office of this company. And I got into doing this project. Super exciting time. I was like, yes, I called it. It was like the scene of the Shawshank Redemption, you know, like being in prison all this time and then finally breaking free. And literally, I actually, ironically, like the last day of work as a pharmacist I had, the toilet of McDonald's, upstairs was McDonald's, the sewage pipes burst and shit was pouring into the pharmacy. And I remember the last day, it was literally like the last scene of the Shawshank Redemption when he has to climb through the sewage to get to the other side of freedom. And that's literally what happened to me. It was hilarious. But anyway, so I got to the head office of this company, and what happened was 6 months into it, like, I don't know if you've ever worked in a corporate environment, but there's a hierarchical system. You have the dragons who are the directors. Everyone's scared of them. They're like this enigmatic kind of people who are mysterious, and, you know, very few people can even book an appointment with them. I was the teacher's pet. I was a dragon's pet. So nobody liked me because of that. They feared me, actually. The middle management were really scared that I was going to take their jobs, which I could just sense this energy, you know, of competition, serious competition, cutthroat competition. So what happened was, like, the director actually went to work for another company halfway through my project. I was in this kind of jungle, concrete jungle, corporate jungle, dealing with all these lions, and they didn't want me to be there. And in the end, they shelved the idea. And basically, I got so depressed and disillusioned. I just couldn't believe that this could be allowed, you know, that the spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, would allow such an amazing idea that I had for giving out health advice to people that had such great evidence, anecdotal evidence, and also now there's so much more studies. Back in 2010, it was kind of unique. It was a bit more cutting edge. The idea that diets can actually help you with your health was very, very underground kind of knowledge. So I actually then, at this point, like, got ulcerative colitis. I got this autoimmune condition, and I started bleeding like several times a day out my backside. I ended up housebound then for almost a year, bleeding out my ass 40 times a day, lost like 3 stone in weight, completely lost my connection to spirit, completely lost, you know, I had faith in humanity, and I surrendered to the medical system, because they told me right from the start when I went to see the consultant, because when you have a disease, like, especially at that age, and it's horrible symptoms, like you're shitting out of your ass, nobody knows what it is, shitting blood, I mean, you basically kind of go a little bit crazy, and you put a lot of trust into people of authority. And this gastroenteritis consultant, who I thought was this, like, very trustworthy source of advice, said to me that there's no impact on stress on what you've got. There's no evidence for diet having any effect on your disease, and pretty much shut up and take the pills, you know, or you're going to get your colon removed. All right. And she was this huge, obese, overweight lady. I'm not kidding. She was like Mrs. Jabba the Hutt. Like, I'm not
Like
kidding.
most health ministers around the world.
She was like the Belgian health minister, yeah. And very similar, which is strange, right? That these people end up in that positions of health authority. So, yeah, so she basically misled me. And I got worse and worse, to the point I was on all these drugs, nothing was working, and I just gave it all up. I literally had this moment of depression where they say God stands a gift of desperation, and literally I was so desperate. And at that moment, this lady came to me, Swami Ambikananda, who's a dear friend. And she said to me, you've got a gift. If you can heal yourself from this condition without the drugs, you're going to be an amazing role model to other people. And that's when everything changed. My eyes lit up, and she gave me hope. This is actually the secret of health, and what doctors should all do is, it's all about the constellation. It's all about the bedside manners. It's all about compassion. You take that away from a doctor and they become a killing machine, because what they do is they tell you, oh, you've got 6 months to live, and they'll just write very coldly on a board, give you a piece of paper, and then they're gone within 5 minutes. When you don't have that level of compassion and consolation and care, kindness, and there have been studies done on this, doctors don't actually have much power, because majority of pills on the market either have toxic side effects or they just work simply by placebo effect. Okay, they don't really, when they stand up, that's why they don't do placebo trials very often, because they don't want to be caught out that the placebo is better than the drug, right? The whole thing falls apart then. But in many instances now, it's proven the placebo is more powerful. And a doctor can actually aid the placebo effect by being compassionate, kind, and consoling patients and listening and giving them encouragement and hope. And this is what Swami did. She gave me a lot of hope. She told me that, if you could heal yourself through this with your scientific understanding, your passion, your wanting to help people, you could be a great role model to other people. And that's exactly what happened. I healed myself. She taught me the foundations of these ancient techniques of Ayurveda, pranayama, yoga. And within a few months, back to normal as a whole new person. And it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Going through that year now, I'd say it was the worst and best experience of my life. There was nothing that can compare. I've done the most powerful psychedelics. I've done insane, crazy, transformative workshops. I've done all kinds of stuff, deep hypnosis. But nothing compares in terms of what you learn than going through a sickness. It's the shamanic path. It's the journey into the darkness, and from the darkness comes the light. This is what's happened to me. That's the awakening. That's the whole Satori element to transformation. Is where you have that moment of deep challenge, the dark night of the soul. Not everyone has to go through it, but it definitely triggers something, and that's what it did for me. And the great thing is that now, because of that, I went so deep on myself. I started to look at the opposite to what the mainstream tells you. So if they're telling you to get a job, I'll be like, right, how do we avoid a job? And then I discovered how to create a location independent business. I discovered how to turn all my knowledge into a thing that can help people by mentoring people, coaching people, creating a school, a curriculum. I looked at how does the society operate? What do they have? They have schools, and that's schools is the way you indoctrinate people, and literally doctors are indoctrinated in a system, and that system at the moment does not serve us in the way it should. No, it did for a while, and the school educational system does not serve human beings to the best of their abilities. We all know this, right? Yeah. So we can't all just rely on the government. A lot of people that put their faith into the government, and you don't have to. The government here is to serve you. That's it. You're not serving the government. That's the bit you got to figure out. Most people got to change that perception, and therefore, then you can actually be your own private education company. Private education is huge. Most of the people who are in charge of governments, they don't send their kids to government schools. They go to private schools, private education. It's a whole different system. So I got into learning all this stuff about how to re-educate people into a proper system of looking after themselves. And now I'm very fortunate. I've attracted into a community some top doctors, medical professionals, therapists. We have 100 or so or more people around the world who are soma instructors who are in high ranking positions in health, and as doctors or therapists, or like something where they're actively engaged with people every single day, and they're helping to change the system and make a new system. So it's been a long journey, but now we're at over 700 instructors around the world doing this stuff. We have an amazing protocol called the 21-day awakening protocol, which similar name to what you've got for your podcast, and it wakes people up to who they truly are, their truth, and teaches them lifestyle habits and techniques and tools that they can use to protect themselves and to elevate themselves wherever they go. And in 21 days, you go through a special protocol, a breath protocol, that creates this dose of intermittent hypoxia, this positive stress response on the body. And the body becomes stronger as a result. Your cardiovascular system gets healthier, you get better blood flow to your organs, and you become very efficient using oxygen. And that there is another paradox as well, is the conventional science pushing this idea that oxygen is this miracle healing thing that we need, and that we all need to be deep breathing all the time, is completely the opposite of that. Actually, oxygen is very important, okay? And Helmut Sees, the guy who coined the term oxidative stress, says, although it's almost impossible to live without oxygen, it's very difficult to live with oxygen because of this phenomenon of oxidative stress, where you get this oxidation effect that happens in your arteries over time, the oxidation from the oxygen. It's like a rusting effect. It causes inflammation. And then there's also the fact that you can get cell damage from oxygen, certain byproducts of oxygen respiration, which creates like free radicals that can attack that damaged DNA. So the entire system of yoga, tantra, pranayama, whatever you want to call it, actually, if you look at it from a medical perspective, was designed to slow your breathing rate right down, so you have less need to breathe, less need for oxygen, because you're so adapted to oxygen. You can survive in a lot less oxygen. Your breathing rate slows right down. You become more calm, more focused, more relaxed. And that's basically what our system revolves around, is making people very efficient using oxygen, and also bringing the breathing rate, the need, the urgency to breathe right down, so your nervous system's stronger and more calm. And from this, a lot of benefits can come, because your mind is more calm, more centered. Yoga is, the whole point of it is to still the mind, tranquility of the mind. That's the idea. And this is what the system does. I haven't seen anything else out there that's put it into such a step-by-step fashion as we have with Soma Breath. So that's where we are today.
Because you mentioned about the oxygen, because I see some people now, they're selling the oxygen in the canisters. Is that actually dangerous, is it?
So here's a simple fact, right? You're a man of reason, and so am I. If oxygen could cure everybody of every disease, right, then doctors already have massive tanks of oxygen, right? So why, if that's the truth, why are they not curing everyone of diseases by giving them pure oxygen? Because it doesn't work like that. So it's a little bit of the biology. So actually, when you breathe in oxygen, okay, I'm going to show you a little gadget. Okay, called a pulse oximeter. What this does, could you pin my video so it's big? Yes. And you can be able to see my screen better. Oh, can you switch the video around so it's spotlight my video? I think it is.
And just
So I can
those
see
for
it.
listening.
Oh, there we go. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it now. Okay. So if you look at this device, right, you'll see 99 there. So what this device does is measures blood oxygen saturation. Now, most people are going to be 97% and above. Okay? Even with a little sip of air, your saturation of oxygen goes right up to 99, 100%. So we have an abundance of oxygen. Oxygen is not the problem, okay? What the problem is that actually we don't have enough tolerance of the most important substance, I would say, in respiration, which is carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide, you need the right ratio of carbon dioxide, and this is called the Bohr effect, where you need the right amount of carbon dioxide to get oxygen off red blood cells and into the cells where it needs to go for respiration. If you don't have enough carbon dioxide, you don't get oxygen coming off. You have a lot of saturation, but no oxygen going to where it needs to go. Okay? And one of the problems that we have in the modern world is with over breathing. Okay? When you breathe in, you breathe in oxygen. When you breathe out carbon dioxide. When you hyperventilate, and most people hyperventilate unconsciously during stress, when they're stressed out, they're emotional, when they're focusing on things, they breathe through their mouth, they're maybe in their chest, because your body can't tell the difference between physical stress and emotional. So emotional stress triggers the same response as if you're under physical stress. Say some lion's about to attack you, right? In the wild, you would have this fight and flight response. You'd run away, right? You get all this adrenaline, boom, sugar's released, and you run away or you defend yourself. It's an instinctive process. But when you're at work in the concrete jungle and you've got a boss who's bullying you or is making you do things that are unreasonable, or maybe you simply just were too lazy and you didn't finish your job on time and you got a deadline to meet, all this adrenaline rushes up again, and your urge to breathe it gets faster. You start hyperventilating unconscious. When you talk a lot, like I'm talking right now, you're also hyperventilating. You're breathing out a lot of carbon dioxide. So people who spend all day long talking, right, they find that their blood pressure is higher, okay, as a result. So you must calm yourself down and have a time to meditate every day, because you'll see right now what happens to heart rates when you are hyperventilating. Okay, now this is an exaggerated example, but throughout the day, people are going to be hyperventilating in periods, which is going to dramatically change this metric here, the heart rate. Okay, so let's see if I can switch this. It's more clear. Okay, so you see here, it says 75, yeah. 74. Okay, all right, let's just go there. Show why the thing's running out. Okay, I think I just took my finger off. So, okay, everything's working, right? So 69, you ready? Watch this. All right, you got that. My heart rate starts going up, okay?
Yeah.
Now, another thing that people do is that when they are stressed, is they breathe in, okay? And they tend to breathe in at faster rate than they breathe out, okay? Like this.
And for those listening on the audio, we'll have this on BitChute and on YouTube, so you can actually see the demonstration.
100 beats per minute, right?
Yeah.
Really quickly went up, the heart rate. So what I'm trying to show you here is the rapid breathing like that through your chest, or chest breathing in general, where you're predominantly breathing through your chest or through your mouth throughout the day, makes your heart rate go up and your blood pressure go up. When you breathe in, you gasp for air. Basically, when you breathe in, you stimulate sympathetic nervous system. When you breathe out, you stimulate the parasympathetic. So I'm going to show you something. This is something we've been told by conventional science is impossible. Okay? And that is, I'm going to consciously change the rate of my heart rate. Okay? Dramatically. Up by 20 beats per minute, down by 20 beats per minute. Okay?
Yeah.
So watch. Wait 1 sec.
So just for those on the audio, I can call up the numbers as they're going up to 86, up to 87, 88. It was down to 70 others, 88.
Now bring it down.
Yeah, it went up to 90, now it's gone down at 81 already. $70, $62, $58. Yeah.
You get the gist of it?
Yeah, no, I saw that it went from 62 up to 90, so yeah.
Okay, you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a very hot day today, so controlling the heart rate is not as easy when it's super hot because your heart is like beating faster to try and cool you down. But anyway, you get the gist.
And what's that device called, did you say? Just in case
This is
people
called a pulse oximeter. A pulse oximeter. So it just measures your heart rate.
Okay.
I actually need some batteries to actually, no, it's all right. It's working good. Okay, so basically what I just showed you there is control over the autonomic nervous system. This is what we've been told that we don't have, okay, any control of the autonomic nervous system. And the only way to control the autonomic nervous system is through pills or surgery or machines. Now, this is wrong. I just showed you that we do have it. And the breath is the control mechanism, okay, to allowing you to tap into the autonomic nervous system. This is what the yogis knew thousands of years ago. And there's a legend in the Rig Veda, which is considered the most oldest religious manuscript. And in there it says about a time where humans lived for long, long periods of time. There were gods on the earth. They were like immortal beings. And they were addicted to this stuff called soma, a ritual called soma. We don't know exactly what it was, whether it was plant stuff or something else, but it would give them superpowers, it'd make them immortal, it'd give them psychedelic experiences and all this stuff, and be able to communicate with the spirits and all that stuff. So according to legend is that the soma starts to run out, and when the soma runs out, that's when they all freak out. And the god Indra tells everyone we must go inward to discover how to create the soma within, and boom, that's when they discovered the power of the breath and breathing techniques for creating similar effects. And so what they did was then they created the first systems of like pranayama, tantric yoga, ayurveda, and all these techniques that we now know in more modern times, but have this ancient origin. And they were designed to stop us being so dependent on stuff for immortality, for strength, for bliss, abundance. Now we are completely hooked on external stuff, and that power has been educated out of us. We're addicted to all these external somas. And what we're doing now is to give people the power on how to create the soma from within. That's what soma breath's about. And that's literally the origin stories of these ancient practices. So what I've done is I've taken the stuff that really works, as the most scientific evidence behind them, and create a system out of it. And we're seeing incredible results. And I believe I've literally hacked this ancient technique. So before it sounds too woo-woo and out there is a science to this, an explanation behind all of this. And it lies in this one revered technique from pranayama called kumbhaka, breath retention. Being able to hold your breath beyond the comfort zone. So going beyond the ability to just, your normal ability to hold your breath. You can trick your brain into allowing you to hold your breath longer and longer. And you can also actually strengthen your system, your nervous system, your respiratory system, to be able to really significantly hold your breath for long periods of time. Now, the reason for this, there's certain reasons, okay? So what happens firstly when you hold your breath beyond the comfort zone is you trigger this positive stress response in the body, a hormetic response, where you produce adrenaline, norepinephrine, and all these other feel-good hormones, tryptamines, that actually feels really, really good. It gives you like a real high when you do it in the right way. And with deeper practice, okay, certain things can happen, different changes. So one of them is that this ability to awaken, and another reason why we call it the awakening, is the endogenous stem cells from circulation. So stem cells are cells that can turn into any other cell in the body. There are different types of stem cells, but certain stem cells are omnipotent. It means that they can turn into any other cell, and they can lower inflammation, heal, repair, rejuvenate parts of the body. And they hate oxygen. Stem cells hate oxygen. They thrive in a hypoxic environment. So when you're in the womb, you are in a hypoxic environment, and basically you would be rapidly dividing, lots of stem cells, and then as soon as you're born, the stem cells rush into areas called niches, low oxygen environments, because they don't like oxygen, and they come out under certain conditions throughout your life. One of them is trauma, okay? Another one is low oxygen, so intermittent hypoxia, which is this period of low oxygen that we can also create through breathing techniques, and also intense temperatures. So a sauna, for example, an ice bath, can also trigger these to wake up. And there have been Russian studies, scientists doing studies on all this stuff, especially intermittent hypoxia and this effect on waking up stem cells. And the stem cells I'm talking about are probably the very small embryonic-like stem cells, the particular variety. So I actually spoke to a stem cell expert in America. She has one of the top labs, and they spend thousands of dollars on stem cell treatments, and they use low oxygen and also temperature changes to awaken very small embryonic-like stem cells, and they have amazing results. So I was saying to her, like, why not, just teach people how to do it for free themselves using the breath? And she didn't obviously like that idea.
It's all about the money.
She kind of ignored that idea. It wasn't even answered. Anyway, so I believe that this is what explains the remarkable benefits that we're seeing from our 21-day protocol which gives you a dose of intermittent hypoxia. There's also a recognized field already called intermittent hypoxic training. You can look it up. That also has so much amazing evidence and data behind it. Okay, and I'm all about mechanisms. I'm not into correlation versus causation and all that shit. I'm into mechanisms. Tell me, if you're going to say that CO2 causes global warming, right? I want to know the mechanism. How does it do it? Because the current explanation of it isn't actually very clear. They don't know. So they're just using correlation arguments. That's not good enough for me. They did that with saturated fat causes heart disease, and they were completely wrong. They were proven wrong. Cherry-picked data. I've debunked that whole argument, and many scientists have as well, doctors. And they got everyone hooked on, you know, low-fat foods, and then eventually statins, so low cholesterol, with this stupid correlation thing, saying that, you know, people who eat more saturated fat get heart disease, when it's all bullshit. Because if you take 7 other countries, or 14 countries rather than just 7 that he chose to pick, you get a totally different answer, and you find that saturated fat actually makes you live longer. And that's why Japan changed their recommendations to the people, and why Japan have the healthiest people, and surprise, surprise, very low rates of COVID. Okay, you know, the lowest mortality rates probably. They don't eat stupid low-fat Western foods though. They eat high-fat, high saturated fat, healthy foods. So anyway, that's another topic in itself, but let's look at this one. So mechanisms. So then why does intermittent hypoxic training work, right? Why does this pranayama techniques work? Why does Wim Hof method work? Okay, I'm very close friends with Wim Hof. He's a very good friend of mine. And he has millions of people probably doing this movement. There's so many anecdotal results now of people improving their health from doing it. It's ice baths, cold shock, and then there's breath retention, right? Okay, for those of you who think the Wim Hof method is all about hyperventilating, it's not. It's actually all about breath retention, holding your breath. That's where the secret sauce is. And me, with Soma Breath, we teach a variation of this with music and other techniques. Same mechanisms. We have dramatic changes, improvements in people's health, well-being, wellness. Even people getting eyesight back. They're getting better growth of blood vessels in the eyes, better blood flow, and the eyesight's improving. You know, like they've really thick glasses to now not needing glasses. So we've had many anecdotal reports like that. So that's the reason why doctors and health professionals are coming to us, because they know that this stuff works. So that's the mechanism, in my opinion, is, okay, we must be waking up the power of the body to heal itself. And the power of the body to heal itself comes from the fact that stem cells exist in our body. And these stem cells have the ability to repair and heal parts of the body that have died. Therefore, with this knowledge is, if you can slow your breathing right down where you need less oxygen as well, if oxygen also causes stress on the body, perhaps this breath retention techniques, what they're doing as well, and one of the reasons why it's so important in pranayama and why nobody understands this except for the ancient yogis and the modern yogis who are living up in the Himalayas right now, which I had to go and find to learn all this. Why do they live longer? Why do they choose to live in low oxygen environments? What are they actually doing? There's another mechanism. So when you hold your breath beyond the comfort zone, another thing you're doing, and you're creating this positive stress response, is you're training, you're exercising the mitochondria to be more efficient. You're creating energy. Your body adapts, it climatizes to being able to use less oxygen. It becomes more oxygen efficient. Okay, that means that you're going to have less risk of oxidative stress. If oxidative stress is what causes corrosion in the body, rusting effect, Harvard have done studies on this, you can check it out. You just write in oxygen, Harvard, rusting, body as keywords, and you'll see their papers on this. If this is what's causing plaque formation, inflammation, okay, then if the number one killer in the world is heart attacks, and cardiovascular events, then if everyone has a daily dose of this positive stress response from breath retention, and they become more efficient with oxygen, their breathing rate slows down, and they also wake up the stem cells during this time, I think we've got a way of life that we can create for people which can prevent, or at least extend people's lives dramatically.
Yeah.
And it can also explain, why do yogis go and live at the top of mountains, okay, where the oxygen levels are so low? That's where they go and dwell. They go and hide from the world in caves. Not really. They're doing it because they have adapted themselves to living in very low oxygen environments, okay? And when you do that, and you can exist in that and not like have this problem of not getting enough energy from oxygen, and you can stay in more hypoxic environments, okay? What happens is, and there's a YouTube video, you can check it out, hypobaric oxygen chamber experiments, okay? They've done these experiments with people going into these rooms where they're deprived of oxygen.
Yeah,
and you see, when you get to a certain level of hypoxia, you get this extreme euphoria, like this blissful euphoric feeling. You lose all sense of self, judgment, everything goes away, the ego dissolves, you go into nirvana, okay? It's like a massive DMT release. And imagine if you can prolong that state, where you can be in this hypoxic environment and survive in it for long periods of time without dying, basically. Then you're going to be in samadhi, you're going to be in nirvana, you're going to be in that state which all of the yogis have been talking about. This is what we're about. This is about helping people train. I can get up to 4 minutes breath hold times now, but I know people who can do even longer than that. You need a lot more practice. But when I've been doing these techniques, my energy levels are better, my mood's better, my well-being, my stamina's better, like I feel younger. There's something about it. And here's another fact about pranayama. So pranayama and yoga and tantra was kind of evolved from studying animals in nature. And if you observe animals in nature, animals that live a very long period of time, like elephants and turtles, they only breathe around 2 to 4 breaths per minute, right? They're very slow breathing rates. Animals that live very short lives, like 1 or 2 years, like mice, rats, okay, squirrels, things like that, they have very fast breathing rates, like 30, 40 breaths per minute, okay? Whereas there's some anomalies to this. Humans have the conscious ability to control the rate of their breath, meaning we can slow our rate of breath up or down. We have a choice. We can consciously control it. And this is where the secret lies in bringing the power back to you, okay? But there's also another interesting phenomenon, the naked mole rat. Okay, I'm all about science, I'm all about evidence. Is there evidence that suggests in the animal kingdom that hypoxia improves longevity, right? Okay, there's two anomalies to this. The naked mole rat is a rat. Guess how long it lives?
I don't know, 30 years.
30 years. Did you just say 30 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're bang on. You're absolutely right. 30 years. I don't know how you got that. What a guess. They live up to 30 years, okay? And they live predominantly in a hypoxic environment, and they can hold their breath for like 18 minutes at a time.
Oh.
Okay? And they've done experiments where they've shown that they don't even get cancer, they don't get chronic diseases. Pretty cool, right?
Mm.
And another very familiar anomaly is, and it's not an anomaly really, it's actually, this is evidence, I think, of hypoxia, and the benefits of hypoxia, is whales. Okay, whales live like, 200 years? Some of them?
Yeah.
And they can hold their breath up to 2 minutes at a time. 2 hours at a time. All right? So So there's something in this, and this is where the studies need to be going in the direction. And actually last year, the Nobel Prize was given to people who showed this benefit of and the role of cells in hypoxia. They basically backed up what I've been talking about, and they won the Nobel Prize. Okay, the yogis knew about this 1,000 years ago. So what I'm saying is that there's a lot of paradoxes out there in the way we're taught from the educational system, what doctors are being taught, pharmacists are being taught. I've seen them all, and my journey has been all about first-hand experiencing the paradox for what it is and the effects of it, and then creating a school around it, helping people, empowering people, becoming aware of these weird, unusual facts about life. And that is that what you're being told by the mainstream is very often half the truth. You know, and you have to go somewhere else to find the real truth. Okay? And that's the sad fact of the world, that that's the way we are. We live in a world where a lot of the things that really help people are shrouded in mystery.
Oh, and even like, because sometimes people will go on to say Google, and I won't mention what I've been researching because it'll be blocked, but you go into Google and check the safety of something, and the first 5 pages are saying it's safe, and it's not. So you need to check different, like you get DuckDuckGo or different ones, and research further, because you can't even trust a lot of the Google anymore.
No, well, I had a website, it was getting 500,000 uniques, the renegadepharmacist.com, and it got taken out last year. In fact, every alternative health site in the world that was, you know, that had a voice has been delisted pretty much from Google. And I'm friends with a lot of these people, like Green Med Info, Sayagyi, Kelly Brogan, Makola. All these guys got annihilated by the search results. And they say, oh, it's because they're misinforming people and that they are, you know, they are a danger, basically, to giving the right advice. And I think that this is bullshit, because had I not had the ability to fairly search information on Google back in 2010, I would have a colostomy bag right now. It's a lot of what I learned was also from Google. I mean, my Swami helped me a lot, but some of the discoveries I made, she didn't even know, like colostrum, for example, saved my life. Colostrum is the first milk that you'll ever get. It's the first food you ever get from the mother. If you're not breastfed enough and you're deprived of colostrum, you're much more likely to have things like leaky gut issues, asthma, autoimmune conditions, childhood allergies, and things like that. Because the colostrum gives you a proper functioning lining of the gut, and it gives you immunity. It gives you antibodies and immunity. Now I see that they are trying to make artificial breast milk, GMO breast milk, basically. And you know, a long time ago, actually, when I was even a kid, Nestle made a huge campaign to get everyone off breast milk and onto powdered milk. And it caused a lot of chaos and problems especially in places like Africa, where they willy-nilly test things out. They have no human rights, you know, issues there. They don't complain so much about it when they should. And I think now actually people are waking up over there as well. But you know, I saw this, and the colostrum is one of the reasons why cows are considered holy in India, is because the colostrum is a powerful healer, and you can use cow's colostrum, bovine colostrum. It translates into humans. Cows produce 4 times the amount of colostrum than the calf needs. So you're only taking the excess. You're doing it a safe way. It comes from organic cows. They're very well treated. In fact, they're worshipped because of the colostrum, where we source it from. And basically, what that means is that you can take cow's colostrum in the form of like a powder. You can even drink it raw. And it also fixes the lining of your gut. So if you have things like ulcerative colitis, like I had, it solves that problem. It fixes it. Crohn's can be solved. pretty dramatically fast as well. I've seen amazing results with our colostrum that we sell, incredible results. With gut issues, it's primarily very good for gut issues, and a lot of diseases begin in the gut. So to take care of gut health, the gut microbiome is important. It also helps produce healthy gut microbiome. So I swear by colostrum. I swear by it. You know, I also swear by bone broth and things like that. And again, another thing that is kind of ignored, the benefits of collagen. Doctors they're not even aware of this stuff. So anyway, I would never have discovered these things if it wasn't for Google. And now they're censored the internet. So if you were to look up anything to do with osteoarthritis on Google now, it's just drugs, surgery, drugs, and here's the side effects, these are the consequences, and boom, just shut up, deal with it. There is no other option anymore on Google. So it's ironic that what we're going through now, last year was when they censored everyone. So it's almost like they knew that, I don't know, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, like, because you actually have seen, because I remember, I didn't officially launch my book, but I remember I gave you a copy of the book. And no, because I want to actually really launch it, because so many people have said you have to be careful with this because a lot of the things that are being exposed. I'm just double checking everything, and all of my links and facts, this stuff is gone now. So now they've taken it all down. Everything.
They've taken it all down. Yeah, exactly. That's like the Google has been totally censored, and there's a lot of things you can't find anymore. It's weird, yeah, which I could find, and they become like trending on Twitter, and then they quickly get rid of all of the links to those points. So yeah, we're entering into very dangerous Orwellian times, and these little communities are all we got left now. Like, we've become too dependent on the internet. There was a time when we didn't care about it. We didn't even know about it, but we still thrived as a race. So I'm hoping maybe we will get to a point again where we don't need it so much. Maybe we find it in other ways,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like
Google, we need an alternative.
Definitely.
It's too much of a monopoly.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. Like when, like, because I'm really thinking of this, because it's all down to food and it's down to health. And I mean, like, I have researched about the doctors getting natural training for foods and stuff. They don't. I think it's only in Albania. Around the world, so I checked in Poland, they get zero. So they're just from the start, they're trained to pump pharmaceutical drugs into their patients, try to get a patient for life, like blood pressure, diabetes, and a few of the other ones. And it's hard to try to tell people, like, this isn't correct. There's actually alternatives to it. And my thought, and I'm not sure what yours is, my thought for this is there has to be an alternative created for the pharmaceutical industry, because they've got mega bucks. They're attacking everybody that's coming out with natural cures. That you have as an independent, a new pharmaceutical industry that's not traded on the stock market, that it's not for sale, and it's to actually cure people. That the aims. So when you have new inventions that are coming out, the pharmaceutical companies aren't buying them and just parking them, because they know they pay. If something's patented, they take it and they just hide it, and it's never seen and nobody knows. So there's people dying every day because of what they're doing. They're not giving the cures that are actually available.
Indeed, happens all the time, and I think this is a problem. Like, we need to have choice. And what's happened in England, for example, is that we have this illusion of choice. The NHS is the illusion of choice. Although everyone goes, oh, we have the NHS, it's such an amazing system, such a healthcare, great free healthcare. It's not free for a start, because you're paying for it from your paycheck. You're paying for the NHS, so it's not free. It's an illusion that it's free. Okay, I remember I was paying quite a bit of cash every month to national security insurance, or it's called. That goes to the NHS. So it's an illusion that it's free. All right. The other thing is, But when it's like a government like led system and it's not free market system, then whoever is in charge of the policies of the government dictates pretty much the treatments that are available. So if you look at the NICE guidelines for coronavirus, for example, they state that no vitamin D, basically, no evidence for vitamin D. I mean, vitamin D, there's just so much research out there about vitamin D. Okay, even Harvard published a whole paper on the fact that 50% of flu cases can be prevented by vitamin D supplementation. Harvard published this. Okay, so it's proven. We don't need to prove it again. It works, and there's a mechanism. Vitamin D is the master. It's like more like a hormone. It's a master vitamin. It helps regulate the functions of all the other vitamins that you consume, and it optimizes your. It's essential. You can't live without vitamin D. You need it. That's why if you're deprived of sunlight, okay, if you're in the dark space all the time, you get depressed. You die. You degenerate. Your nervous system, like, it's shattered if you don't have enough vitamin D. So, to try and tell doctors, like, you're dictating to doctors what you can and can't do, is a hugely irresponsible. It's extremely dangerous because they don't know it all for a start. Okay, I didn't elect the person who creates the NICE guidelines to be the guy who does that. I don't know who his background is. I don't know if he's qualified. We don't know anything about it. But these are the people dictating the policies for the rest of the world, right? And I know doctors right now in the front line, and I would say that they've got a bit of a shock coming to them. I don't think they realize how many people are awake right now, especially health professionals as well. And there's going to be a massive court case against the government for the way they've handled this coronavirus, for all the deaths that have happened unnecessarily, right? Which could have been prevented because they blocked certain treatments. I know from the front line from doctors that they're told what to do, what to prescribe, what to do in terms of treatments. They have very little say. They don't have much choice. Okay, you have to go to a private doctor, and even then there's a lot of regulation, because if they go off the NICE guidelines, right, the government regulations basically, and they do something off-label, right, prescribe something off-label, then they're at risk of being sued. So there's a lot of fear in healthcare. Like, a lot of doctors are run by fear as well. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to get sued. They don't want to lose their job. So they don't speak out, and that's how they perpetuate the system. And that's really dangerous. When you can dictate policy and force mandates on a population, that's when it gets scary. That's very Orwellian and dangerous. And this has to be checked. And I really hope that we don't go down that road for too long, and that we wake up out of it, because that's a scenario we don't want to entertain ever.
Oh, definitely. And there's another thing that I was thinking as well, because you're obviously aware there's kickbacks constantly from the pharmaceuticals to the doctors. And I think that if a doctor agrees to a documentation that's fully traceable, stating that they are not receiving kickbacks, because a lot of the time they're actually prescribing the higher drug that mightn't be the best to the patient. And even if there's only 1% does it, if you had to go to a doctor, you would go to the one that's actually signed it. And if, like, they lose their license, then that they can never, if they're, lying about it. Like, yeah. Because there's so much corruption going on, and we can't say nothing. They've got, unlimited budgets. So anybody that's standing up against them, they're taking them down through the legal system. So we have to create an alternative. We have to, not attack them. You're not going to beat them, attack them. You just have to create alternatives that work against them.
Well, the problem with that is is that then if you become too big and you become a competition, then they will attack you anyway.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, this is you heard about the guy, the Madagascar president who went against the WHO, and you know, like a lot of shenanigans. And then there was a Burundi who went against the WHO and he died recently. One of the other African presidents. I don't know if you heard about that. Like, it's
I didn't,
scary
but
world,
like I
man.
know it's gone on for a year. There's so many doctors that have been,
So much, yeah. There's so much money in this. Yeah. But anyway, like I'll give you a one source to look at. There's an article. If you just Google uh, Dr. Fishbein, right? Fishbein. He was a whistleblower uh, from the. He's quite a high up. He was one of the highest ranking government officials who's like exposing things. And there's an article, you can look it up. It's called the Fauci Files, and it's basically he exposed the ulterior motives for covering up the AIDS medications, the side effects of it, and then also the fact that there was also a inside interest into a certain patent on a anti HIV drug, which Fauci was actually involved with, which he would have made fortune off, basically. And he exposed the corruption. Very recently, this just came out. It's called the Fauci Files. You can check it out. There's also a movie called The Constant Gardener, which talks about the problems with Africa and the fact that pharmaceutical companies come in there, do trials, and they basically are literally like doing illegal trials and not reporting the severe adverse effects that happen, hushing them up. And then certain people who try and expose it go missing. In fact, actually, by sheer fate, I met in Austria, of all places, in a resort that I was staying at, where we were doing our retreat, an African guy who was working in the kitchen, and he was making moringa. And I recognized it as moringa. I was like, "You making moringa?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm making moringa soup." And he was telling me that in Africa, he was involved with recruiting mothers with children for malaria trials, okay? And his job was to find children and help them get to a certain weight so they were healthy enough to be on these trials. So he would actually give them moringa soup. He would make moringa soup, give them moringa soup. Children would dramatically improve in their health. And basically what would happen was they would no longer have malaria. So they wouldn't be eligible for the trial because the moringa was solving a problem, which shows what happens when you boost your immune system. All right? So, you know, this is what's going on. This is the world we're living in. It's a business. The world's become a huge industry. And I don't know the solution to this other than, I don't know. I'm kind of, all I can think of is we need to educate as much of the soldiers, the pawns in the game, which are basically the soldiers and medical professionals. They're the ones who carry out the work. So if the soldiers don't comply anymore, and there's an uprising amongst them because they're angry enough about it, then we might see a change in the pharmaceutical industry. But at the moment, I think this coronavirus situation has woken up more people than ever before.
Definitely.
For sure. And there is some people at the top of American politics. I'm not sure exactly which side they're on, whether they are really fighting for the good or not, or if they are just part of the whole game.
I believe I think the same, because I'm looking at it and you hear Q and everything, and they're like making it look like, okay, there's this side that's actually trying to be the good guys, but if you look at who they're surrounded with and different things that's been reported, I don't know, is it a smoke screen just to keep some people happy? So the way I see it is educating people, getting people out there to understand what's really going on, and then they can make, because it all begins within, because if you start eating healthy, if you start doing your breath work, you become healthier. You don't become dependent on all these different drugs.
What I think what we have to help people do is to avoid getting into the system itself. So in order to break through the system, my method has been, you've got to create your own business. If you have a job, get a job working for somebody who you believe in their ethics. Because we live in also a world now where actually companies, there is a free market still. So companies that don't abide by the rules, except for it seems to not include pharmaceutical companies. They seem to be able to get away with murder all the time, and people just forget about it. There's an amnesia. But most companies, they have to now be socially responsible, otherwise they get exposed like on social media like crazy. So fine, if you can't create your own business or supplementary income, go and work for another company that does have the right values for you. And but if you can, focus on creating an extra income other than the one that you're getting from your job. Because if anything happens to that, and it can, then you're really going to be in a mess, and you're going to be surrendering to the government. And here's the thing: don't get into systems like that. So a corporate job is a system that will keep you pretty much broke most of your life. You'll end up getting a mortgage, you'll end up doing the 2.3 children thing, and you'll end up, stressed most of the time, and then on to drugs. And quite a lot of people in companies, they're going to be the first ones to get vaccinated if they want to keep their jobs. So got to try and find a way to get out of that system. So creating an internet-based business is definitely going to be a way forward, right? So something to do with that. And then what we do in Soma Breath is give you the way of life. So if you can just keep our way of life, doing what we recommend on a day-to-day basis, you'll prevent needing drugs, medications, surgery, or anything like that. And at least prolong that from happening. So I'm not going to say that you're never ever going to need these things. And actually, there is a place for medicine. I'm not completely knocking the industry either. The place is, it's an emergency. Yes. So last resort, right? If you bash your head against the wall, right, you're going to need some ice to bring the swelling down. If you keep bashing your head against the wall, you're going to keep needing more ice. Eventually, the swelling is going to be too big, and it's going to create a huge mess. So what doctors do, they just keep giving you more ice. They give you drugs to bring the swelling down, right? What the smart thing is to do is stop people bashing their heads against the wall, right? And that means lifestyle change. That's usually it's the lifestyle that's doing that. And usually it's dissatisfaction in your career. That's one of the biggest things. Feeling like a robot in the machine. And so that's why with Soma Breath, we teach people different ways to look at the world, different ways to perceive reality, so that they can start getting more in touch with their human side. We've been robotized for too long. It's time to bring the human back.
No, definitely. And like what I encourage people, because I've been lucky to experience you doing the breath work, and it was incredible. So I encourage people, just go away and try. You might think, whoa, this is there's no way this is possible. As soon as you do it and you get the experience, you will not want to not do it again. It is such an incredible feeling.
Amazing. I love it.
Listen, it's been fantastic. I really appreciate what you've shared with us. How can people get in contact with you?
So the best is to go to our website, somabreath.com, sign up for the masterclass. And there I go into a lot of the science. I give you an experience of this meditation, and you learn science of being able to tap into your physiology. And then we have different options. You can either do our 21-day awakening journey, which is an amazing experience for your mind, body, and spirit, or you can become an instructor, or it's not like one or the other. You can become an instructor of these techniques and start actually building an income outside of your career as well, or add it as an extra string to your armory of things. Like if you are, say, a yoga teacher or Reiki master or a massage expert, something like that, this is something else you can add into your list of things you offer to people. And we really are creating like holistic practitioners, like holistic health practitioners. That's what we're really creating, therapists, a unique form of therapy. And that would be the best place to start. We also have a YouTube channel, Soma Breath. There's a lot of free stuff on there, SOMABREATH. And that's it. And also our Facebook group, Soma Breath Facebook group, you can join that as well.
Okay, perfect. And what I'll do is in the description for both on YouTube and in the podcast, I'll actually give all the links so that people can be able to find you and click. So listen, it's been amazing. Thank you very much.
Much love, brother. Peace.
So that's all for this week. You find all the episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. Until next week, take care.